Welcome to Custom Hammer. Hello again, and this is a new t-shirt. A friend of mine gave it to me as a gift, and it depicts the girlfriend of Zelda. Her name is the Princess. Welcome to another episode of Custom Hammer. This gentleman here is Superman. No further introduction needed, but the likeness of the portrait is based on the Christopher Reeve, an excellent actor with a tragic story, but nonetheless a legend among us humans. And I don't remember where I read about this, but there was a quote saying that this guy made us believe that a man can fly. And without any further ado, let's proceed to the video. Wet sanding, one of the best techniques out there regarding the sanding process. For me it's quite simple. I usually use some container to have some water beside me, and as you can see I also use some baby powder to spot and flush out some imperfections. Regarding the sanding process, there is also a toothbrush in my disposal, Dremel. I also use the scraping technique, as you can also see, and yeah, various tools and techniques to get the job done. Here I used a very thin small drill bit to carve away and cut the model on the cape where the line meets the cape line, meets the rest of the model. I did this because in my opinion it would be better to make the cape one piece and then attach it to the rest of the model. This is my favorite putty. It is a glue. Technically it's marble glue, but it hardens very well, and it's one of the best products, in my opinion, that I use all the time. Now it's time to pour polyester resin inside the model itself. Here I'm using baby powder mixed with polyester, and then I pour in the pieces of the model itself. Some test fitting here. And now I'm using the polyester putty as it should, as a glue that is, to glue the pieces of the base together. And of course I remove any excess. It is important to note that before applying any glue at your model, you need to just scrape the surface a little bit, because that's how the glue glues the parts together, technically. Yeah, you get the point. If the surface is smooth, like glass smooth, it will never glue. It will just be a disaster, trust me. Here I'm fixing minor imperfections with CA glue and baby powder. And now I use polyester and pigments because I wanted to give the underside some interesting colors, let me put it this way. Usually the base is, I don't know, just a black boring thing, and I decided from now on I will do this on my models to make the base at least a little more interesting. Now the best way to apply resin like this is, after applying the resin, you should put the piece inside a pressure tank, but I don't have any. It's expensive and quite big, and therefore I have to deal with the bubbles, which is okay for me, but with a pressure tank I could get rid of all the bubbles at once. But what can you say? One day, when I'm rich, I'll buy a pressure tank. And now I'm ready to sand the base smooth. And these are the bubbles I mentioned. I use low grit sandpapers to rough sand the base, and then I proceed to use high grit sandpapers to make it smoother and shinier. And some wet sanding, and voila, almost like a mirror finish. And this is the final result. Now I apply some Vaseline on the one piece, or the symbol of hope, and some polyester putty to fill in the gaps. Remember, you can use this stuff as a glue, as a putty to fill in gaps, and what else? Whatever you want actually. This is how I pin my models. I take a drill and I drill through the two pieces together, in this case his arm and his shoulder, and I apply some glue on the piece that will hold the pin, and then of course I apply the polyester putty. Note here that on the shoulder, that means the other part, I have already put some Vaseline so that the two pieces won't stick together. And for minor imperfections, I use CA glue and baby powder. Well, his cape needs to be smooth and linear, is like a fabric, you know, and that's why I put all the pieces together beforehand, but any imperfections need to be as smooth as possible because they will show up later. And spoiler, they do show up at some point because the thing is that my 3D printer does not like linear things. Okay, I don't know how this sounds, but it's the truth. Here's the thing: when you try to print a cape, for example, and your resin shrinks, this creates imperfections, and the pieces together don't really fit. I mean, they do fit, but you have to sand and put putty stuff like that on certain spots, and these spots later on show up on the final product. So therefore, at some point when I have my own studio, maybe I will buy a better printer. For now, this is the best I can do. Primer is your best friend. That's it. Enough said. Primer will let you know when you do mistakes, and it's easy to spot things that need to be taken care of, such as small imperfections, because primer is one color, and it's easier after applying the primer to see where you need to sand again. After applying the primer, usually the steps are as follows: prime, sand, putty, stuff like that, in order to achieve the desired result. Time to put some color down. Start with some ink and then with contrast paint. This is from Citadel, and then some red ink from Scale, some white ink next. Okay, just at this point I just use my imagination. Whatever, doesn't matter. Let's see how it goes. Here I used some dry brush, the dry brush technique. Very simple. Whenever you want to paint yellow, the best place to start is to apply pink first. No idea why, it just works. I don't know how to explain this. The best way to paint yellow is to paint pink first. Yeah. Time for some masking. I envisioned the symbol of hope on his chest to be a metallic color. So after applying the yellow, I masked all the yellow beforehand, and I used the AK silly putty thing to mask it. It's reusable, it's very nice product, highly recommended. And at that point I realized that the primer didn't stick to his pants. So I reapplied a more expensive primer from Mr. Hobby. And now back to the symbol of hope. I applied, after the masking, I applied this chrome silver, and then I painted with clear red to give it a candy look thing type of paint ish. I don't know, this is how they paint cars, I think. I'm not sure, but it looks nice. After applying 2 or 3 coats of red, it looks nice. And now back to his pants. As you can see, the paint sticks at last. And I repainted pink on his belt in order to paint yellow later. And now, time to unmask the chest and see what's the damage. Remember, after masking and unmasking, you always have to do touch-ups. It's unavoidable. Peeling off the tape is always satisfying. Time to paint some skin. In this video I'm going to show you a technique using only one type of flesh color. I'm going to use red and green, these are clear colors, and some purple for the underside, for the shadows, and of course black and white primer, which I already did for the zenithal highlight. But as for the skin, I will only use the flesh from Tamiya, skin tone, flesh tone, something like that, from Tamiya. This technique is perfect for someone who has only the basic colors, and most likely it will work with other brands such as Vallejo or AK, Scale 75, and so on and so forth. I just prefer Tamiya, that's all. When you paint human skin tones, okay, you need to add a randomness. You need to do random things to make the skin somewhat realistic. That said, I started with green and then with red. I wash the colors and then I wipe out most of it because I don't want to let it pool. But at some point you saw me spray something. That was alcohol. Alcohol when you spray red, when you wash with red and then spray with alcohol, it creates, I don't know, some dots. It kind of pulls the color together and gives it a more realistic look. Now, of course, don't overdo it. You just need to apply some red and then some alcohol. Just don't overdo it. Anyhow, then I used clear blue to draw the veins. Whenever I make a mistake, I just erase it with a Q-tip. Now, every step of the way, as you can see, I apply with my airbrush, of course, some of the skin tone color. The color at this point is very thinned down, and therefore it creates layers, but it keeps the information underneath. And by information I mean the red that we applied earlier, the veins, the greens, stuff like that. It is semi-transparent, let me put it this way. That's why you thin the color. Well, if you don't thin the color, there's no point on doing all these steps. The reason is that you need to see what's underneath. Also, this is one of the reasons I use Tamiya for this technique, that is, because Tamiya colors are excellent for keeping the information underneath intact. I hope this makes sense. This is my wet palette, and I use a semi-white color to paint his eyes. I tend to avoid bright white for the eyes because I believe it looks unnatural, although technically the eyes are white. Anyhow, on a model I just prefer colors that are white-ish for the eyes. Proceed step by step, don't rush things, and as you can see I just barely dip the tip of my brush on the paint. Step by step, take your time, it's fine, you will get there, and always use some photos for reference. Lastly, time to glue the statue together. I use this glue is for plastic, and it dissolves the painted surface. It's very handy. Usually I use two-part epoxy, but when using epoxy or any other glue, you have to sand down and scratch the surface beforehand so that the glue will adhere better. But anyhow, I used this plastic glue for the rest of the model, and for the cape specifically I used the polyester putty to fill in some gaps also. And as you can see, I touched it with my bare dirty hands. Yeah, I fixed it later. These things happen. Okay, I should have worn gloves, but yeah. Well, what can I say about the design? I've said it before and I'll say it again. An alarm went off. Sorry. Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Wicked makes the best models, in my humble opinion. And the likeness of the portrait is excellent. This really is Christopher Reeve. The model overall has a very comic book-ish aesthetic, which I like a lot. A model doesn't have to be super detailed to be nice. There are many things that I believe where there was a challenge, such as the cape. When you try to make smooth, linear surfaces, it's kind of hard because 3D printers always make mistakes. And there is a small gap here which I will fix at some point. Maybe I'm lazy, I don't know. I work 2 jobs, leave me alone. But overall, I really like this new technique here. I will do it again in the next projects or so. Other than that, it's a very decent model and I really enjoyed this one. The symbol of hope, of course, it's the metallic-ish kind of candy paint technique going on. Anyway, if you somehow could see this in person, you would see it's a very nice model. Anyhow, this segment is always an unscripted one, so that's why I tend to ramble a lot. I really hope you liked this model, this video. Thank you very much for watching, and in case you like this video, don't forget to put a sticky note on the fridge to remind yourself to buy some milk. Love you all, smooches from Greece.